JD says, North London Giants going in two extreme directions. John Dykes feels that the midweek European exertions have shown how North London Giants, Arsenal and Tottenham are going in two different directions. This week in European football, Arsenal did a very Arsenal-y thing and Spurs did a very Spurs-y thing. But I know which club is in the better health football-wise right now. By winning in Milan to put themselves in a great position to make the Europa League last 8, Arsenal not only gave their fans a decidedly unexpected victory after an abject 2018 run of results, but they also put the Wenger-out narrative on pause yet again, no matter how brief that pause may be. Henrikh Mkhitaryan, Aaron Ramsey and company played superbly, as they can, but the performance and result only served to highlight most observers' belief that Arsenal generally underachieve these days. Spurs, meanwhile, gave themselves a superb chance of making the quarter-finals in the Champions League, only to squander their lead at Wembley and succumb to Massimiliano Allegri's battle-hardened European campaigners Juventus. It was both a predictable exit and a massively disappointing one, but I would not be too disappointed if I were a Spurs fan. The result was predictable, but not in the way recent similar Spurs defeats have been. In recent seasons, most notably when they finished runners-up to Leicester City in the Premier League, a narrative has grown around Spurs suggesting that they are never quite going to be good enough under Mauricio Pochettino to win anything. So, at face value, the Wembley defeat continued that narrative. Enhanced it even, as Pochettino arguably threw the win away by persisting with a formation and tactical approach that allowed Allegri to make a bold switch of his own, which inspired the Italian champions' comeback. Other critics pointed to Spurs' failure to secure the killer's second goal, despite playing attractive, positive football against a team known for its resilience and ruthlessness when given an opening. However, this failure differs hugely from other recent Spurs disappointments in one crucial way. This was a game Spurs were arguably favourites to win. After all, they had fought back from 2 goals down in Turin in the first leg and they beat European champions Real Madrid in the group stages. Spurs have been in superb league form of late. So, this time around it wasn't a case of the North London club flattering to deceive. Instead, it was a bitter disappointment because they genuinely believed they could win. Of course, the press reaction has been that of a coordinated knee-jerk, most blatantly in the Sun newspaper, which branded Spurs wannabes at this level. That would be the same newspaper that had 1 month earlier published the following gushing line about Spurs' rapid climb up the footballing ladder: "At this rate, in years to come, everybody will say they got to watch Tottenham live." That's what the tabloids do, of course. Next up, they will train their sights on Pochettino and suggest he has to win the FA Cup, or perhaps list even more Spurs players who need to leave to win trophies. Why? This defeat, as bitter as it may have been for Son Heung-min and company to swallow, was further proof that Spurs are turning into one of England and Europe's elite clubs. There was no shame in losing to a side as good as Juventus on a night when the result could have so easily gone the other way. For me, this is a crucial time for Daniel Levy and those who control the purse strings at White Hart Lane, or I should say the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. If they improve 1 or 2 senior players' contracts and continue to recruit as well as they have in the case of Davinson Sanchez, they can only get better. Theirs was a young, relatively inexperienced team at Wembley and they can only learn from the experience. As will Pochettino. He doesn't, as some have suggested, need to drop his football ideals and become more of a Mourinho when it comes to match management. Yes, he could have tried to shut the game down on Wednesday night, but his team really should have taken the chances that came their way at 1-0 up, thanks to Pochettino's attacking principles. They would have been out of sight had they done so. The manager doesn't need to change. The club doesn't need to change drastically. Yes, a piece of silverware in the shape of the FA Cup would give Spurs players a morale boost, but if they don't win it, it's not a disaster either. Despite cup wins, Arsenal's recent trend has generally been a downward one. Spurs are still on an upward trajectory, and while the steepness of the curve was affected by the Champions League exit, they are still very much on the up. Yeah.